Sorry, Restream's being a little slow tonight. How y'all doing? Thanks for joining us. I'm Dave Valente. Good evening, Brandy. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is the Political Deep Dive. I'm Dave Valente, joined as always by Dandy Dan Fishman.
Thank you. Greetings and salutations.
Salutations. And Joe Solosky. Joe, how are you doing, sir?
Fantastic, gentlemen. It's been another great week.
It is. It's been an interesting week. We had the Carter funeral and the National Day of Mourning on Thursday. We've had, California wildfires where I was thinking it was tomorrow because just having this impending sense of dread coming up with the Trump inauguration. But we've got another week until the Trump inauguration. So less, 1 week for Joe Biden to do some kind of an official act if he wants to. We're speeding along. It's been an interesting week. But I think the most devastating news we've seen this last week has been the California wildfires. And just a ton of misinformation that's been coming out around the California wildfires. People are using it for political purposes. It's a natural disaster. It's a very dry area with incredibly high winds.
The Santa Ana winds.
Yeah, the Santa Ana winds. I mean, and if you've seen some of the videos of the winds, I mean, it's not like a breeze here. I mean, it's like
it's
not quite hurricane force winds, but they're very forceful and constant winds that are rolling off there. Mm-hmm. Hey, Craig. Hey, Daryl. How y'all doing tonight?
Yeah, it is let's first put the fire part of it, in its own box and say, look, there's this fire, and regardless of what's happening, it's a terrible thing, and it's not something that could be easily handled. Because if it could be easily handled, they would have done it. They have essentially unlimited money to throw at this scenario, but it's not just about money.
No.
So
anybody who's lived out west has had to go through wildfires. And I've been in situations out west where I've driven through an area that's been hit by wildfires, and driving along a road where all you see in all 360 degrees of you is just blackened earth. It is surreal to see. And that was a prairie fire out in eastern New Mexico eastern New Mexico. You can't throw a bunch of money about it. And people are complaining about infrastructure, like, well, LA's got all this infrastructure. Why wasn't there, available infrastructure for combating the fire? Let's be clear. These fires start in the middle of the wilderness. There aren't fire hydrants out in the middle of national forest. They just start there and they roll down because we've encroached on a lot of these areas. Building and things like that. The houses are coming up closer to those wild because it's beautiful and pristine, and you want to be there.
What it is, it's this beautiful area, and for people who haven't been to Southern California, there's a reason why so many people live there. It's gorgeous. You have mountains and trees running all the way up to the ocean. It's just a beautiful place. Yeah. So people want to settle there. They want to live there, and they've been building homes into the forests, into the woods, up on the mountains.
Yeah.
And so now if you get a fire in that area and you get high winds, you've got burning debris flying through the air, landing wherever, and spreading the fire really fast,
and
faster than
dry.
Fight against it.
Mm-hmm. It's dry out there. It's not, a lot of us East Coasters are very used to heat and humidity and yes, there are fires out here, but nothing to the level that we see out west. When something goes up out west, it will go up, and there's not a lot to stop it.
Yeah. All tinder.
It's tragic because when we've seen a loss of life, and it's really close to a major metropolitan area, and it's not. But these are not the first time we've seen massive fires in California.
Definitely not.
It's just where this one is at.
And we should talk
some of the people who are
about the density of LA County. LA County there's a map going around, and I confess I posted it It's not strictly correct. Greater Los Angeles has a population of 18 million. Los Angeles County actually only has a population of 9 million. But that still makes it bigger than most states in the union.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, in that scenario, that's why so many people are being affected by this.
Mhm.
It's a, it's not a, it's not a tragedy that is just manufactured. It's happened because there's millions of people who live there, and that's why it's so widespread. That's also why it's so hard to fight. And in normal course of things, you would probably let a fire like this just burn itself out if it were just in the woods, but
Yeah.
it's not just in the woods. And so that's why people are trying to figure out a better way to contain it. And it's not just the Pacific Palisades fire either. There are 5 or 6 other fires around in the area, and it all adds
Yep.
up.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And these fires will spread, but not only is that spreading, but the misinformation about what's going on there. Um, you posted a story about where they're talking about blocking fire trucks from coming down from like other areas because they don't have the right permits or
Right.
um
Well, it's an example of how things get malicious. So I think most people have probably seen somebody share on Facebook this thing of Oregon fire trucks stopped in Sacramento because they didn't have the right
permits.
emissions permit or,
Yeah.
or emission setup. That's there's a little bit of truth there. All the fire trucks that came in were stopped and inspected by Cal Fire to make sure their engines worked, that they had hoses and emergency equipment, stuff like that. Which, if you talk to people who have been in emergency situations, uh, my cousin was a tank commander in the first Desert War, uh, and whenever they would get tanks off the planes, they would go through and inspect them all, even though
Yeah.
they came from the army and were supposedly in great shape. If your life depends on it, you give it a once over. And
Mhm.
so the fact that the firefighters are inspecting the equipment that's going to go into the field with them doesn't seem unreasonable to me. But there's this little half truth that the trucks are being stopped to be inspected before they go in.
Mhm.
So now somebody blows it up and they say, "Oh, it's climate law." And
Yeah. They're
a
not
similar
going to
thing
let
that's
them
happening
through.
right now is right. The DEI is being blamed
Oh
for
god.
firefighter reaction in LA because the fire chief is a lesbian. I mean, some things about it you can't make up.
No.
The 4 senior women in charge are all named Christine or Christina, and they're all in the LGBT community. So it's fascinating, but it's
I
just a
mean,
coincidence.
who cares? The chief generally is not the person fighting the fire.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Right. The
Like,
chief is the person who's negotiating for money, and this chief is on record of having complained that they didn't have enough
yes.
funding a year ago.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
And for me, people are talking about the reservoirs being empty. Well, it is California, and we do have California does have requirements to divert certain amounts of water to their agricultural industries and things like that. That yes, there are regulations that are impacting this that you can make a political point over. But I think the time to make the political point is not in the middle of the firefight.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
get the fire, put it out, and then we can have a discussion about the regulations impacting, the availability of water. Plus,
Right.
again, it speaks to the idea of infrastructure in that you don't have fire hydrants in the middle of the woods. You have to have these big
Yeah.
ass tankers like that big Quebec tanker that skims the water and dumps it on the fire.
right.
And
Well, and one of the other things about it is that there is plenty of water 20 miles to the west of the fire.
yeah, the ocean.
The thing is, right, the thing is, you don't want to dump salt water in arable places except as, a method of last resort.
Yeah.
But they may be at that spot right now.
Yeah, I
where
mean,
Oh,
if it comes,
I would certainly say
yeah,
so.
yeah, I mean, if it comes to protecting, homes and things like that, I don't think anybody cares whether they're plowing the earth with salt,
yeah,
as they say. But the idea that, yeah, you're not, if it's cutting across crops, you're not going to dump fire water, dump salt water on
right.
the agricultural land. But again, the time to have those conversations is not in the middle of fighting the fire. Let's get the crisis resolved, and then we can have that discussion. But a lot of times when it comes to these things, we they don't want to solve the issue because they want to be able to beat the hell out of each other over these issues. So we won't have that conversation. Like, I don't think we've had a really good conversation post COVID about our reaction to COVID. I don't like an honest conversation, not just screaming, about vaccinations and things like that, but an honest conversation about here's what went well and here's what did not go well.
Right.
And so when we get to the next time there's a global pandemic, we're going to have the people who want us to lock everyone down, and we got people wanting to have these COVID passports or whatever they call them,
Yeah.
without actually discussing the what went right, what went wrong, and how do we move forward from this. All we're going to end up doing in 3, 5, 10, 100 years is just end up beating each other up again over the same stupid thing that we should have decided or at least talked about after the fact.
Well, yeah, and one of the interesting things is that there are people saying that there were a lot of firefighters who stepped away from the job over vaccine requirements. I mean, there is across the board throughout the country, you can find people that did that. Was it enormous? Was it 25%? No, not even close to that. And I would argue that you're better off without those people, who
Probably,
don't
yeah.
understand that because, getting vaccinated isn't about protecting yourself. It's about protecting everybody else so that you're not a carrier and infecting them.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with healthcare providers as a requirement for their job, and firefighters are first line healthcare providers. Um, the I don't have a problem with saying that part of their requirement for the state job, if you're going to be giving first aid to somebody, is that you had to have a COVID shot.
Yeah.
Um,
That's an interesting point, Janice. The 900 prison inmates working the flames. I don't like the idea of forced
but that's
forced
not
employment. I
that's
mean,
that's so I will tell you that is among the most in demand jobs, prison jobs available.
really,
Prisoners really want to do that. There's a great competition for it. You're outdoors. You might be but you're
might be able
actually
to get
doing
away.
you're actually doing meaningful work,
Yeah.
and it's
But if
very competitive.
it's volunteer, I don't have a problem with it. If it's yeah, chain gang working the cutting
Yeah,
cutting lines and to fire breaks and stuff like that, then I have a problem with it. But if
Mhm.
yeah,
it's volunteer and they're out there as a point of service to their community and doing things like that, then I don't have an issue with it.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that's not. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that it's not forced labor to go out and fight forest fires. Because why would you want that? Why would you want somebody who would do a less than stellar job?
Mhm.
I mean, we eventually came to that idea when it came to um, military service. That why do you want people dragged off of their farms to go fight in a war when you can build a volunteer force.
So,
Yeah, I'm sure it's vastly underpaid. They probably don't get paid very well
right.
compared to their full firefighter
Yeah,
brethren.
exactly. Um, so my brother texted me offline that uh, in real emergencies, they will use salt water for firefighting. However, it's generally not preferred because it's so much more corrosive on the equipment
Mhm.
that is used. So if they got to do it, they'll generally do it. But
Mhm.
most
Yeah, I
of the
mean, I've been
time,
watching that big Canadian skimmer, you know, balls
Yeah.
of steel for that pilot, because I mean you're flying low over a body of water that is moving and skimming water off of it. Mad
I used
respect
to
to those
bullseye
pilots.
womp rats in my T-50 back at home. Sorry, I had to get the Star Wars quote in.
Oh, even
You know
when
how
they're
big of
flying in to distribute, to dump and distribute the water,
Oh
to
yeah,
see how close they are, the hillsides that they're having to deal with. Yeah, that takes some guts.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, guts, and it's probably like if you're a pilot, it's like the best day ever that you've had at work,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I'm
Because it's like so
sure.
challenging, it's exciting, all that stuff, the best.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean it's got to be taxing those all get out. It's
yeah,
not like you're flying from Reno to Salt Lake or anything. Like you're going down, you're pulling up, you're flying into canyons and all that stuff, avoiding trees and yeah, mad
right.
respect for those folks. Thanks to Canada and a few other countries have
Mexico.
chipped in. Yeah, Japan. Yeah, I mean they'll be here until next week, I guess. Oh, we lost Dan.
Sorry, I just muted while I was sneezing. Um,
Yeah, it's
the
nice
yeah,
to
yeah,
have.
exactly. We have the Mexican firefighters until Trump deports them next week.
Yeah,
Well,
Um,
and I was thinking, it's really nice that Canada and Mexico are helping us since they're going to be our next states. Maybe Greenland can help us out. Uh, it's all kind of ridiculous.
I mean
we
that,
could
that
we
that
could.
certainly leads into the next topic. Uh, the Trump's crazy foreign policy.
Oh,
Just
well,
to begin with.
It's new manifest destiny
uh,
as you know
of the
his
worst
ideas
kind.
of his idea that we're going to take over Canada, which good luck. I mean, yeah, Canada's small, but have you ever watched a hockey fight? I
Well,
mean,
I mean, the other thing about it is that it would completely they won't let DC be a state because of how much it would tip the
I
politics.
know
Eh,
it's
right.
yeah. I
Everybody in
mean,
Canada is further left than the Democratic Party.
Well, here's a thought I had. I mean, you guys are in Maryland, correct? I'm in
I'm
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
close to Maryland. Yeah,
Dave's in
Okay.
West
You're
Virginia.
what, West Virginia?
yeah,
Okay.
just across the
So
border from
here we
Hagerstown.
are, this beautiful tri-state area, and we can get in our cars and drive between states and do whatever we want because we're all one big happy family. If he thinks, rather than try to do all this imperialism, why doesn't he just do the same substantive effect? He could open up the borders, have free markets, no tariffs. It's basically like, okay, they're states. I mean, they're still sovereign, but they're states. He's got the best of both worlds then.
Oh, James. Yeah, I mean, the plan for Canada is dumb to begin with because I mean, if you watch some of there's a Canadian YouTuber named JJ McCullough who's writes opinion pieces and things like that. He's very much to the right of Canadian politics, but he will point out that Canadians are far more nationalistic than even Americans. Their idea, they're tying themselves to their Canadian identity is in many ways greater than what Americans do.
Cool.
Um, the idea that we would be able to sweep in and take Canada. I mean, from an overall strength perspective, you could do it. But it'd be just like going into Iraq, going into Afghanistan. You're going to have pockets of resistance that will fuck you up for a long time.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's not going to be this smooth transition. Good luck trying to get oil sands out of Alberta because rebels will be blowing up your oil lines and stuff like that. So for me, I think his foreign policy pronouncements, uh you know taking back the Panama Canal, which is just nutty. um
I mean,
Calling the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, which is, I mean, to me, that's
well, and as some
small
people have been
penis
pointing
energy
out,
right there.
how can you say you want to call the Gulf of Mexico Mexico, the Gulf of America, and yet you're unwilling to use a proper pronoun when you are addressing somebody, right?
Exactly.
It's first of all, it's crazy. I mean, it is true that everybody has names. The French don't call the English Channel the English Channel.
Hmm.
So fine. I don't care if you want to put it on different maps. Who cares? Um, on the other hand, I think that the Gulf of America is actually the oil company, Gulf, and
Yeah.
they,
The Gulf of Exxon.
yeah, I, it's it's so crazy. That's the thing that's just ludicrous to me. Why is nobody talking about how crazy this is? Uh, and Denmark actually reached out to Trump. They said, "Look, we don't want you to invade us, please." They had a real call and seriously saying, we feel threatened by you, which is ridiculous. Why should Greenland feel threatened by the United States? There is a big American military presence there already.
Yeah.
It's an important part. People who are familiar with anti-submarine warfare, the GI Iceland UK line is an important thing for keeping. I guess I can't say Soviet subs anymore, but Russian subs
New Soviet.
in their part of the water, in their part of the ocean.
Yeah.
And we have very sophisticated tracking materials set up there. Um,
But if I
but
mean we're claiming every country that has U.S. presence in it, then it would make the British Empire at its height look like a
yeah, yeah, it's
small timeshare.
it's just baffling, and I don't know what I mean. What could Trump possibly think is going to happen? And I mean, I will say that that's also just a small part of the craziness, because then the Canada thing is even more ridiculous. Right? So Greenland, right, has a total population of what maybe
Like
100,000 people.
yeah.
Uh, Canada is a pretty big country.
Yeah, I
Toronto,
mean it's like 27, 20, 30 million, somewhere in that. I mean,
Toronto is
they're
the
about
fourth.
10% of the United States.
And I
Toronto
think
is
they're
the
all.
fourth largest city in the North America.
Yeah.
I think the vast lion's share of them live within 40 miles of the U.S. border.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe they're thinking that they can claim the INS 200-mile rule to claim southern Canada.
Hmm.
But those are people who, you know, compared to Americans, are essentially socialists. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that's their lifestyle.
Yeah.
They're used to national health and they're used to, a strong autocratic government.
Well, that was one of the things that I saw when this first came up probably about a month ago when they really started talking about annexing Canada. One of the Trump supporters was talking about, there will be a transition period, and part of the enticement for Canada to willingly accept U.S. dominance would be that there would be nationalized healthcare. And I'm like, really? You guys were just railing about Obamacare what 3 years ago, and now you're promising, oh, we're going to extend national healthcare to the whole United States, and that, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like it feels like politics has absolutely shifted in the age of Trump, that we don't really know what Democrats, and we really don't know what Republicans are anymore.
Right.
And none of them have a spine. None of them have any
Of
principle.
course, no.
It just
Right.
blows in the wind,
Well,
regardless.
I think that is, in many ways, that is the definition of party politics, is that you don't care about the position. You only care about the party, and the party can be flexible in terms of its position to maintain electoral power. And Republicans and Democrats have done a great job of demonstrating their willingness to do that.
Yeah.
So I think, we're not looking at a, a, a group of people who are elected because they have any sort of standards that that are guiding them. There's no moral principle that's guiding them either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and people will say, "Well, we can buy Greenland off of Denmark." Like, sure, but these are the same people who complained about the money that we were giving to Ukraine for
Yep.
their own self-defense. Like, let's have a little
Yes,
bit of
Well,
consistency here
and that
about your positions.
exactly.
that's one of the things that there's another meme going around that says people in L.A. trying to get the government to help out, and it shows people hanging a Ukrainian and Israeli flag.
Hmm.
And mainly they're hanging Ukrainian flags. Um, it's like everybody has forgotten the Russians kidnapped 20,000 Ukrainian children,
Yes.
right? It took them back to Russia.
Hmm.
It's not like
And
Ukraine
that's
is
I mean, like a classic Stalin move.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a classic Stalin move, and it's a classic media move that we're not even talking about it. That
Oh,
that we're saying, oh, they should settle.
I mean,
The Ukrainians should settle and
Never.
settle for their children in somebody else's hands.
yeah. I mean, and for me, like, uh, you know, uh, I do think that there is something to be said that, maybe all of this stuff that they're putting out, whether it's about Greenland, Canada, Mexico, Gulf of America, all that's a distraction to achieve other
Yes.
things, drive other news stories under the radar. Whether it's Trump's day one executive orders or, um, whatever getting nominees past the Senate and
Yeah,
trying to get them past the Senate with as little scrutiny as possible. That may be maybe that was kind of a key classic thing with the Trump administration was to sow enough discord and discontent on certain stories that the media just kind of ignored
Yeah.
even more egregious
right. I mean,
violations of our civil liberties.
it's
Absolutely.
interesting. I mean, I do wonder. I mean, I'm trying to think who's left, who's the most controversial. Uh, probably RFK is the most controversial nominee. Um,
Yeah.
but they've got the votes to pass him.
I
So
mean, they do. I mean, again, it's still not a huge majority. And some senator may want to make himself out to be the new Joe Manchin or the new
well, it is interesting because you think about all the power that Joe Manchin had in his last 2 years, being the swing vote.
yeah.
You do wonder if there's a reasonable Republican left who might want to say, "Oh, I'm going to be that guy." I mean, I don't think it's going to be Rand Paul,
No,
sadly.
no, I don't.
Um,
Yeah, no. I mean, there may be some instances, and I think it may be situationally where you might see senators
yeah,
like Rand Paul or Mike Lee stepping out on surveillance or some other issue like that. But to me, I don't think I think they're sufficiently scared of not only Donald Trump, but Elon Musk has said, if you oppose Donald Trump on things, then I'm going to run candidates against you, and that's their for a lot of these guys, their greatest fear is not an opponent from the other party; it's an opponent from inside their own party.
yeah, absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely is right. And I think they've already been doing that in the last 7, 8 years, even at the state and local levels here. I've
Yeah,
seen it happen right here in Center County where I am.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
know.
there are Murkowski and Collins. They're hardly Trump supporters. Um,
I think I'm going to hear, and yet.
well, the two of them only makes they vote Democrat. That only gives the Democrats 49 votes. So
I
Yeah,
guess Dan, one of the ones I was really disappointed in, of course, Justin Amash he was one to speak out and they ran against him. And so he couldn't make it into Senate. I was usually very impressed with Thomas Massey, but I was really disappointed right before the election that while Massey has constantly gone against his own party and oftentimes against Trump, he comes out and endorsed Trump at the
Oh
very end.
yeah.
I'm like, this is sad.
Yeah, I mean,
You can't trust any of them, it seems.
I think that that's true. I do think that it is. There are people in a branch of there are people who live in a bubble where they don't see any of the bad that Trump represents.
Oh, I know.
They
It's
don't see the fact that Trump represents a rise in hatred. Because if you were to ask me, is Donald Trump homophobic? I would say no. I mean, just based on his life and the people he associates with, is he against trans people? No. I mean, he's great friends with Caitlyn Jenner. It's well documented.
Mhm.
Is he racist? Absolutely not. However, he empowers all the people who live those lifestyles.
I would actually say that there's a good chance that he's got some racial animus. I mean, just thinking about the Central Park Five and his reaction to them. I think.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I mean,
I think that there. I mean, would I see Donald Trump at a Klan meeting? No, but
no, but
do I
he
think
hired
that?
Omarosa to do a lot of stuff, promoted her very heavily. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I tell you, Dan, you really nailed it. I think, though, it is the people who turn a blind eye and
right.
rationalize his conduct and defend him. These are this part of the electorate is what I am most personally disappointed in.
yeah.
They elected this
Right.
guy not once but twice. This past week, I was sitting in. I had some errands to run. I stopped in my local smoking lounge to smoke my pipe, and there's a whole bunch of people there that clearly Republicans, and they're talking Trump. So it was one big coffee clutch. And the one guy was a local Republican committee head, county head, and he went right there as he got talking. He stood up and he said out loud that it's never bothered him that they used to say that they quote that Trump he'll the way he treats women, it's okay. He can just grab them by the pussy. And he says, I think that's great. I'd like to do that. And I'm sitting there like, my God, man, do you hear yourself? But
Yeah.
through their very own actions, they're rationalizing and defending this lunatic. And I didn't think fast enough. I'm sitting there smoking my pipe. I should have asked the guy, hey, what do you think your wife would think about that comment? Or maybe your daughter. But I wasn't fast enough on my feet.
Oh, wait, what do you think if Donald Trump did that to his wife or his daughter?
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, like that to me, that it has emboldened people who have this idea that the progress that's been made over the last 50 years is leaving them behind, and that they
Mhm.
wish to go back to the good old days where boys
Yep.
could be boys, and
Right.
locker room humor and shit like that. It's just
And,
Yeah.
you know
and then
Back in the days. Go ahead, Joe.
they always come back and they'll say, well, listen, Joe, I mean, what do you think of the last 4 years with Biden? Would you prefer that? And I'm thinking, this isn't even a relevant conversation. You're turning around saying, based on that, you would support this guy, Trump, someone who's so despicable. Let's talk about the fact that he's flown to Epstein's Island. So he's probably a pedophile. We know he's a rapist. We know he's a felon, a convicted felon. We know he lies. We know he's a con artist. He's not a liberty guy, that's for sure. And
No, definitely.
yet they defend him left and right. I shake my head. I
well, I
don't
think
know
a lot of
where
people
this electorate's gone.
well, I think a lot of people will have this idea, especially on the right, that the highest thing is to own the libs.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
they will they're not even paying attention to the fact that they're being owned themselves.
absolutely.
They're so
And conned.
concerned with owning the libs and making the Democrats angry and making liberal people angry, and it's like, just understand what you're representing and what you're putting out there as a human being. Um, you know, uh, the idea that you're okay with the casual racism of a lot of Trump's supporters and even big time supporters.
Right.
Mhm.
The casual anti-Semitism, the casual, anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ stuff. Like,
And the support of the big lie. That's the
yeah,
other piece of it, is the fact that everybody lines up to say, yeah, that's not what happened. This
Oh,
person isn't anti-Semitic. This person isn't racist. Whatever. You're all crazy for thinking that. That is the biggest part of it. Is this is overall joining together of the big lie people. And yeah, Brandy's got it right.
yeah,
There is a phrase that they use, subhuman. It's
yeah.
specifically coined as part of anti-Semitic literature,
Mhm.
and that's where it is. And this struggle has been going on for quite a while. It really sort of hit its peak, though, I think, in the embodiment of the American dream, which is that classless people, and by that I don't mean people without class, I mean people who aren't part of the class structured system. Classless people are able to rise up in the United States to the highest level.
yeah,
Jimmy Carter, right,
Mhm.
was dirt poor and then grew up and became something. Harry S. Truman, same sort of
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, the idea that people who aren't millionaires were in charge of the country
Mhm.
was appalling to millionaires.
Mhm.
yeah. And I think Phil put out something good. I wanted to go back to his comment, thinking about it. He's calling it legacy shopping. That his first term, had very little positive associated with it, and largely overshadowed by the end with COVID and things like that. Um, whether it's adding territory or any of these other things that he wants to do to reshape the government. He's shopping for because he's limited now. As
Yeah,
much as people will probably freak out that he might try and change the Constitution to be able to run for another term. One, I think he's going to be too old. I think by
yeah,
the time we get to the end of his term, he's going to be showing the same cognitive issues that Joe Biden's showing. And two, he's limited to 4 years. He's not going to be able to run in 2028.
right.
So
And
the race is on now.
I think that lots of Republicans are willing to uh, weren't willing to stand against him while he could run for president, but would be willing to oppose him when he's a lame duck.
Yes.
Uh, in that
Well,
concept,
hopefully,
yeah, hopefully,
maybe after 2026, that might be a little more evident.
right. I think in that space, I'm worried too that what comes next for the Republican Party in that space is going to be weird, right? I mean, all these people that were part of the big lie, uh, and the people who joined them, like, let's take a guy like Lindsey Graham, right?
Ugh,
Lindsey Graham, who,
Butters.
yeah, who, everybody knows Lindsey Graham is gay,
Yeah.
right? It's not a big issue. Nobody
Although
really
I can't hear
cares.
Mickey Mouse laugh anymore without feeling very uncomfortable.
But, everybody knows about it. And yet he has thrown all that away to sign up with, and Lindsey Graham, who, at one point in time was incredibly anti Trump, JD Vance, who said Trump was like Hitler.
Well, I mean, Lindsey Graham had to get a new cell phone because Donald Trump doxed him in the middle of a press conference because had the temerity to oppose him in 2016.
Yeah, it's just incredible. And so here are all these people who have sold out, right? Just morally bankrupt. And I mean it in the literal financial definition
Yes.
of the term, morally bankrupt.
Yes.
They had no morals left from which they could pay their bills. And now these people are going to be suddenly left rudderless because Trump will be gone. And as much as, Donald Trump is crazy, I mean, I really do believe that he is fundamentally a New York Democrat. And that's where his politics
Yeah,
has
I don't
always
think
been.
I don't think any of his positions are I do think that he, part of his racial animus is the immigration issue. I do think that he
Yeah. Well,
genuinely believes in being anti-immigration, but I think
I
most of his beliefs are transactional.
yeah, exactly.
Very much so. Very
And
much.
yeah, if you talk about him being anti-immigrant, I mean, he only marries immigrants.
This
So
is true.
That's a
it's
good point.
Immigrants once again taking jobs that no American wants.
exactly, exactly. Um, so
Uh,
in this space, we have Trump, but so once Trump is gone, then you get people like Nick Fuentes or Steve Bannon or some really dangerous people, and
JD Vance.
now all the safeguards are gone,
Yeah.
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 and that is going to be I don't know. I honestly thought in 2016 that Trump was running as part of a conspiracy to give the Democrats an overwhelming majority, that he was running to be the worst possible Republican candidate so that the Dems could get a giant majority, have all three houses again, or all
Well,
three bodies.
Well,
at least he accomplished step one there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, he did
I do think
destroy.
that
Yeah. And
I
so,
do I absolutely do think that I think the Democrats were very much in favor of propping Trump up early in the dude was on MSNBC like every week at least.
yeah,
MSNBC
I mean, it was well
early
documented.
on in his presidency
There were
or
papers
his campaign.
from the DNC. How do we promote Trump? How do we make him
Yeah,
the candidate? We don't want to run against Jeb Bush. We don't want to run against Marco Rubio.
please clap.
We want to run against Trump, right? Low
Yeah.
energy Jeb Bush. Um, and so they got their wish. What they didn't realize though is that he would be such a galvanizing force.
Yeah.
And I can't believe how polarizing, how much Trump's enabling of, I don't know how else to put it, but the worst of
Yes.
American bigotry.
Yes.
Uh, how much his enabling of that has really thrown a lot of stuff that used to be the safeguard of America to the
Mhm.
wind. The safeguards of America used to be the sense of common decency
Yes.
that was common, that we all had together, that, you didn't have to tell somebody that if there was, a hungry kid on the street, you fed them, you
Mhm.
took them to a warm place.
Mhm.
Now there's going to be a question about, well, maybe that kid should be shipped back to the country they came from. And why are they here taking resources away? We've become a country that is more based on hating others than it
Yeah.
is on welcoming.
Yeah. They
The
should be
idea that,
welcoming and
yeah,
helping.
exactly. I mean, you think about what's written on, right, the Emma Lazarus Emma Lazarus poem. Give
Yeah.
me your poor,
Mhm.
Huddled
etc.,
masses
yearning to be
beaming from
free.
your shores. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Eh,
and that's exactly what we want: is the people who want to be free. I'm going to argue that the people who are supporting Trump, they don't want to be free anymore.
No, they want people to.
Oh,
They want Trump to take
yeah,
care of them.
They want Trump to be
they
their
do.
daddy.
They
Yes,
really do. And it's sad, especially,
absolutely.
I'm stunned, anytime I've spoken with women that support him, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that a single woman out there would be supporting this guy. And some of them defend him vehemently.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, Brandy talking about not being seen as human. That it's very concerning because I mean that is not very far from going to a very bad place. If you anybody who studies history, anybody who studies even recent history like the civil war in Rwanda, the Hutus and the Tutsis,
Yep.
they classified them as cockroaches,
Mhm.
and that's why it was okay to hack them to death,
Oh, look what
to slaughter them wholesale because they were seen as less than human. Like every time you make you tell somebody that they're less than human, or tell people that this group is less than human, you are making it morally okay to go after them.
Absolutely.
You're making the case that even if you do the most heinous thing and kill them, slaughter them, mass killings, it's okay because they're not a human. So I mean,
Well,
like, that's not murder.
they
That's
do
just
it today. They do it today right
yeah.
here in this country with the sex workers community.
Oh yeah.
You will see a sex worker may meet an untimely, tragic death that gets investigated. Or what do they call it? NHI. No human involved. And it's like, wait a minute. A human being, a precious human being
Yes.
got killed. And they define it as that in this country. And it's okay today with law enforcement. That's a sad state of affairs, and
It
if
is.
we're shifting that direction, as you just said, with other people, other groups, yeah, this is a bad slippery slope.
Yeah. And it's not just, that it's like that poem will go. It's not going to start immediately that every Democrat's going to round up and or liberal or
Mhm.
non-Republican will get rounded up and put onto a boxcar. Well, we're gonna load those dirty immigrants up on boxcars, and we're gonna send them, to who gives a shit.
Right.
And then we're gonna go after those trans people. We're gonna go after those gay people
Right.
because we've cheapened their life for a billionaire,
Yeah.
for a dude's ego.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
You're right. And
And
we
Craig,
are,
I want to just say quickly, if I can interrupt, Craig, thank you for your comment. Well stated.
Yes.
yeah, we are in a place where we have forgotten Ayn Rand's fundamental truth that the individual is the smallest minority.
Yes,
And when we stand up for minorities, we're standing up for ourselves because we're all individuals.
absolutely,
And the
absolutely.
core of what the liberty movement wants is a recognition that everybody is in it together, united with not a common goal of a group, but a common goal of being individually free. And that stuff is the thing that's going away by this rise of groupthink,
Yeah.
Yes.
right? Trump bringing together the actualization of everybody get in line
Yep.
behind this agenda.
And that feeds the nationalism and the imperialism.
Yep. Yep. And
So, uh,
the problem, go ahead, Dave.
well, no, I was going to say the interesting thing that I think we'll see within the first year, maybe 18 months, is I think Elon Musk is going to be
First
uh,
to go.
he's going to be the Bannon of this administration, where they started out great friends and then just melt down.
Yeah, yeah. I thought the same.
I don't know. And I'll tell you why I'm not sure about that. Because for $1 billion, Trump will do anything. And I think Elon can just keep giving him money. If Elon were to give him $1 billion a year, that you
He
know,
could.
we were talking about this the other day. Uh, there's a saying in sports that winning is the best deodorant. Um, in politics, money is like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Ken puts it clear right there. And we saw a little bit of it when the H-1B visa thing came out a couple weeks ago, where Elon was advocating for greater immigration through H-1B visas, and the Trump base was very much against it.
Right.
Um, Trump, there was for a little while, Elon was kind of the face, and I think Trump kind of. I
Yeah,
don't
he
think
doesn't
that
like
Trump,
that.
regardless of how much money Elon has, there are other billionaires out there, and we're starting to see billionaires like Zuckerberg who are starting to kind of move into that Trump space, and because
Well,
they don't want to get attacked.
but I mean, what's interesting about it? So, I mean, I think that is something that we probably should talk about. is
Yeah.
Facebook changing their rules in terms of fact checking.
Yeah.
I think it's worth saying that I think the X model is better. When
Community
you have,
notes. Yeah.
peer
It,
reviews.
it, so, imitation of the sincerest form of flattery, in that they see that it's working for X.
Right.
Why not, instead of having this weird algorithm that, you know,
It,
bans me over a Jeffrey Dahmer meme from 3 years prior.
yeah.
Go to a community notes thing where people can add context.
Yeah. Now, I will say
Mhm.
that I have never had anything fact checked. I've never been in Facebook jail. Uh, one time I had a post pulled because, and I can't remember exactly what the thing was, but we have a mutual friend who is a senior software engineer from Facebook who said, "Let me find the ticket," and everything was restored. So I don't think that what Facebook was doing, or at least I never saw evidence of it being terrible. Although I certainly did see shadow bans, content that
I mean,
normally I would see do really well in the post, do nothing.
well, I mean, I do a lot of posts that are controversial,
Yep,
from a humor perspective. Like I'm not a person who attacks people to, call them out, or to make racial or anti-LGBTQ posts or anything
sure,
like that. But yeah, for I think they got really dependent on AI to do a lot of their work for a while,
right,
and when I was getting bans for 3-year-old memes that no
right.
one would be able to find them if they were going through my content because I post so much. But I was getting banned, and it was like every time I would log on, I would get banned for something, and or I'd make a joke or something, and all of a sudden I'm getting banned for another thing. Um, yeah,
It
it,
definitely went
it
too
got
far.
frustrating, and I think you know Facebook got way too dependent on, whatever the algorithm says is true, and you are not worthy of our space. And I get that. That's I keep hearing the Republicans talking about how Facebook censored me and all that stuff. And it's like, I never thought of getting a Facebook ban as being censored by Facebook. It just meant that I ran afoul of their guidelines, and I had to sit in timeout for a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm like you, Dan. I've never been in so-called Facebook jail, and I've marveled with some of the things that I have had discussions on. How I haven't been, I don't know.
Well, I think
Right,
once you start, and that's where
right,
it just was like you were already targeted, and the algorithm would look at your stuff harder than just
Okay,
some rando.
right.
okay.
I think that I was thinking about that today. I really wanted to go off the deep end talking about and calling out these people who are reposting these lies about the California fires, and just
Yeah,
really make a list, Facebook liars, and start adding names onto the posts, stuff like that. And I think that that's where you do sort of cross the line when you get into that level of sort of attacks for good or for bad.
Yeah.
This certainly felt like I was being righteous in that manner, but I don't think that. I think that Facebook going to a market-driven solution, and it's funny because everybody is, or not everybody, but a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's a big vindication of what we were always saying all along." The reality of it is, and they're saying, "Oh, now that Trump's in charge, you're not doing it." The reality of it is that Facebook was corresponding to what the government wanted in both cases.
Mm.
If Facebook hadn't put fact checking in, they were risking, potential much stronger censorship from the government.
yeah.
And so people who say, "Oh, he's bending now," it's still Facebook is still bending to the whims of the government.
Hmm.
Speaking of social media, we're getting closer and closer to the time where we might lose TikTok as a social media engine.
I don't
There's been
use
talk that Trump may step in and save TikTok, which would be interesting to see, because it is a Chinese-based company,
China.
China.
I,
Um,
I don't. Yeah, I'm not. So I personally never use TikTok.
I
Um,
love TikTok. It's
I
fun.
don't like. I like YouTube Shorts. I like Facebook Reels. Just never got into TikTok. Um, Actually, in many ways, I think YouTube Shorts is too good. I mean, it knows exactly what I want to watch, and knows how long my tolerance is for a video.
Hmm.
It's just too good about putting the right videos in front of me. I can doom scroll YouTube Shorts for hours.
I
And
think YouTube does have a superior algorithm.
yeah,
I mean, again, it is based off of what you choose, and then it'll start feeding you more and more stuff like that. So, but you know, it feels like so much of our life is now, driven by algorithms.
right.
You know, yeah. I was looking up something for a joke. Yeah. So, somebody posted the "Every kiss begins with K's" uh, tagline on a post, and I came up with the BJ's Wholesale Club, and I was like, "This is why I shop at BJ's." And now I'm getting nothing but requests to get BJ's Wholesale Club memberships, and I don't think I've got one within 100 miles of me at this point. So,
Right. It's
It's
funny.
amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah. The other interesting thing about this with Facebook sort of being very algorithmic is that they know so much about you because of what's in there. We get back into the sort of the Cambridge Analytica stuff. Their ability to put content in front of you to manipulate you.
I actually find Facebook's algorithm the worst of all the social medias. For the reason why, like, I will see posts from friends that are like a week, 2 weeks
Oh yeah,
old.
yeah, I get that all the time.
Their ad algorithms are, off the chain, but the way that they curate posts, even if you change I just want to see new posts only. For some reason, it never really saves with Facebook, and you end up getting like week old posts. You're
Right.
like, why are they talking about this issue? That was like last week, and then you see or if you see Dr. Reese Willis's Katy Perry post, that gets resurrected from now
Yeah.
every now and then. But um, the you know, I think that Twitter has a better algorithm. I think that, or X, or whatever they want to call it now. Um, uh, YouTube, TikTok. I think they all have better algorithms than what drives Facebook's feed.
Yeah. I mean, in Facebook, it's interesting because I wish I didn't see most of the my friends post. I mean, really, I have like a core of 100 friends, and I'm much more interested in what they're doing than the. I've cut my friend list down to like 2,500 now, which I'm pretty proud of. But it's still ridiculous.
I left the LNC in October of 21, and at that point I had 4,800, which is 5,000 was the max, at least at that time, of Facebook friends you could have. And over the next month, I whittled, and this is my old account. I whittled that down to 1,500 people, and that was still too much. My current
Wow.
Facebook is a little bit over 500, and
Hmm.
I might need to do a purge that Stalin would be scared of.
Yeah, I was at 5,000 when I was the executive director, and since then, if you post stupid shit, I'm just going to unfriend you.
Yeah.
My tolerance is really,
That's why
really
Dan
low for
unfriended
that
me
now.
years ago.
Well, I unfriended two of your accounts. The third one is okay, but no, seriously, like if you spread disinformation, uh, I tell you, who else I unfriend? If you are an older man and I get a friend request from an obvious sex bot,
Hmm.
and you are friends with her, I unfriend you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
you've got to be very careful about who you accept friend requests. If a young lady who is completely out of your league, and let's be real with you guys,
yeah,
if the young lady is completely out of your league and has no mutuals, do not accept her friend
Yeah.
request.
It
She's
makes no
not there
sense.
to
well,
at best she's a catfish. At worst, she's a sex bot who's just
yeah,
farming to get
I was gonna
all
say,
of your friends and send
Right.
invites to them.
as a sex bot, she's not out of my league. As a matter of
Uh,
fact, that is specifically the league that I
uh,
play in. But
it's
yes,
funny listening to you guys. I've never done a focused purge of my friends list. I probably should do that. But the only thing I've ever done is, well, kind of like what Dan was saying. If someone is, for me, if someone is rude, if they're crass, no, I'm not
That's why
interacting with you.
Joe got rid of me a while back too.
Well, but it wasn't for long.
Crass.
I tell you, the biggest time I did a purge was in same thing, 2021, and it was primarily people of the Mises caucus who were just rude or crass, and I thought they got to go. I don't want to see this
Oh
crap on
yeah.
the feed.
Yeah, that was a I mean, being on the LNC, I accepted a lot of friend requests from people who were generally who were on in the LP and that were living in especially in the area that I lived in that I represented, which was Region 5, West Virginia,
Mhm.
Maryland, Delaware, North and South Carolina. I accept a lot of friend requests from those people because as a representative on a body, you should
Sure,
be able to reach out
absolutely.
to me and ask me about stuff. But once that shackle was broken, I yeeted a lot of people.
Yeah,
And I did not feel bad about a lot of them that I yeeted. Now there are people that I just, for me, the most the criteria was, if you brought something positive to my life, I would keep you on. If you were, the Mises asshole, um, shit disturber, whatever,
Mm,
I
right.
gone
well,
out.
it,
I don't
it,
need you. And Daryl, July 1st is my birthday, so
yeah,
you want to give me that present.
I tended to, you know, the thing is that if you disagree with me, I have no problem with that. I
Oh
Hmm.
mean, I
no.
love the people that can disagree with me and you can make their point and argue it. But the ones like I keep around 5 or 6 people who consistently refer to me as stupid. And I'm like, listen, when you call me stupid, that's more of a tell about you than
Yeah,
anything else.
yeah.
Uh, you know, stupid is not the first adjective that people use to describe me.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so let's that it's tough. I used to also think that like I had an obligation to speak the truth in places. And sometimes I'm just like, I
You
don't
don't want to
care.
spend the energy sometimes because you
Oh
realize
yeah.
Exactly.
you're talking to a wall.
I
Right.
am not going to set myself on fire to keep other people warm. Like
Yeah,
that's just I'm not going to do that.
exactly right.
If I see racism, I'll probably call that out. It's something blatant.
Yeah.
I see homophobia. Anti-trans stuff. Like I've got family that I will defend to the ends of this earth.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The you know just some random shit poster on some group, I'm probably not going to engage because it's just it's a waste of time, energy, brain cells. Like you're not going to come out on it because 99 times out of 100 these people just don't care what you say.
Yeah,
So uh, you know
Right. Right.
truly right.
So, all that being said, we circle around to our thing of, what's going to happen in this next 4 years in the Trump presidency and stuff like that. I am going to try to engage a little bit because in some places where I think they're rational people, if I can encourage them to be rational, if I can encourage them
it'll be
to,
nice.
somehow get to the point where they say, the emperor has no clothes, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, that's a rare situation.
It is.
Truly.
And not only the emperor has no clothes, but the quote unquote loyal opposition really is not opposition whatsoever. Um, where guys like John Fetterman who are cozying up to the next administration, those people need to be called out. That if you're going to run interference for a guy that is wanting to deport millions of people,
Yeah.
uh, I you got to call those people out. We do need, not only are we in a post-truth world, but it feels like we're in a post-rational world.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well
Yeah.
said.
No, nobody has the ability to critically analyze their thoughts anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. People.
Washington beat Tampa.
Oh, okay.
So
So
I
Dan's
am
It
Dan's
looked like a good
parlay is
game.
parlaying.
my parlay is still going, baby. All I got is one. I need Minnesota to beat LA, and I win $250 on a $5 bet.
Wow.
There you
Very
go.
excited.
What's the score of the Minnesota LA game?
That's Monday night.
Oh, is that Monday night?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, they're you get to a point in countries where the parties really I think we are in a great reset of the two main parties where they're cycling and merging, and what Democrats are this year are not going to be what Democrats are in 5 years. Um, that when people talk about the Democrats were the party of slavery and the Ku Klux Klan, absolutely true. But that Democratic Party is not the same as the one that
Yeah.
uh, you know Harry Truman and
Uh,
on
let
after
me
that.
let me mention a politically incorrect movie, Undercover Brother. Are you
Didn't see
familiar
it.
with it?
Didn't see that.
I find a way to watch it, guys. It's
Okay.
fantastic.
Okay,
Eddie Griffith is the main character. He is Undercover Brother. Um, Denise Richards plays a character called White She Devil. Um, and they all work for an organization called the Brotherhood that is designed to stop the man from keeping the black man down.
You had me at
And
Denise Richards.
yeah,
sure.
one of her finest roles. I mean that I can't which Bond movie was she was in? She was great in a
Oh,
Bond movie.
yeah.
Uh,
I think that was View to a Kill
no,
with Christopher Walken.
no, that's not Denise Richards.
Oh, that was Tanya Roberts.
That's Tanya
Right.
Roberts.
Yeah.
Denise Richards. She's in the one with Sophie Marceau.
Oh, that was a Pierce.
Let us
Yeah,
let us consult the interwebs.
right. I just remember her name was Christmas Jones,
Yes.
and they made the obvious joke of this year Christmas comes more than once.
Jesus Christ.
That's so great.
Yeah, classic.
Um,
But
The world is not enough.
the world is not enough.
World
Right?
is not enough. Okay.
So anyway, but Undercover Brother, it's fantastic, and it tied into what we were just talking about beforehand, which I've forgotten about. What were we talking about right
Casual
before?
racism.
Yes. Well, I don't remember it. Just watch Undercover Brother. It's
All
excellent.
right.
Sounds
No,
All
fun.
right.
everybody will be happy. That movie is so funny.
I still one of my favorite movies all time is I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Yeah. Oh,
Didn't
I
see
love that one.
either.
I
Didn't
saw
see
that.
either.
I saw that in the
And
theater.
CB4. Those kind of like play off of the black exploitation films of the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw I'm Gonna Get You Sucker in the theaters. I don't know how it happened, but like I saw it in New York City. Like it's one of the first Wayans brothers movies, and very clever. Aliens, etc. Chris Rock is in it. Early Chris Rock.
Okay.
Anyway, all right.
Yeah, just one rib.
Exactly. Should we do the quiz? Do the quiz
Yes,
a
I
little
think we should
early?
do the quiz
please,
a little
please.
bit earlier. Normally do. Thankfully, it is not the BBC quiz as it was last week because we got pounded in that one,
We
only
did
like
get
2 out of
pounded in that
7.
one.
So, yeah. So let me get rid of the chat. Remember, this is from Thursday, so anything that's happened Friday, Saturday, or Sunday is not on this quiz.
Okay.
And context clues, we can see the fire in L.A. Joe Biden with Volodymyr Zelensky. I missed that there was a meeting between those guys. And then that is, oh, shit, I can't remember what temple that is. Oh, we'll see. Anyway, yeah, this says Wildlife Emergency NASA Mission Glitzy Awards Show. What do you remember from the week that was? All right, question number 1. Which California city was affected by unprecedented wildfires, forcing tens of thousands to evacuate? Now, I actually gave that away already.
Yep. I mean,
We did get pounded by the BBC, man.
yeah, it's
Daryl.
obvious joke. The
We took it like champs.
I was going to make something about everybody's watching the uncut version of the show. Anyway,
Uh,
there's an obvious joke about that with our boys. The South Park movie was originally titled South Park movie Kenny Goes to Hell, and the censors blocked that, and so they came back with South Park bigger, longer, and uncut, and that was approved.
that was approved. Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely. Yeah. The what gets through the censor sometimes.
We're
yeah,
all 15, aren't we?
we are.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. Question number 2. Who delivered a eulogy at former President Jimmy Carter's official state funeral? President Joe Biden, President-elect Donald Trump, former President Barack Obama, or former President George W. Bush?
Yeah, Ken's got it.
Yep. Biden it is.
It was
Biden.
Biden his time.
What's interesting about that, I watched the beginning of that when everybody came in, and the fact that Melania wasn't there, so she didn't have to sit next to Trump, is interesting.
Did you see the Pence?
I did. I
So
saw them in the background.
Trump shakes Mike Pence's hand, and his wife would not even look at him.
Yeah, pretty well. I mean,
And I don't blame her one bit.
yeah, I mean, he told people to go down to the state house and hang Mike Pence. So I can see how she could take that personally.
Absolutely.
But the other interesting thing about it is, so next to Trump, Ken, was Barack Obama, and they sat and had some, apparently pleasant conversation. They were chit chatting back and forth and laughing. And the thing about it is, I've often thought I saw on the Graham Norton show, uh, Denzel Washington and Tom Hanks were on together, right? So powerhouse cast, and they were apparently both at a party at the White House. And Graham Norton said to him, he said, like, well, so what's that like? And they both essentially said the same thing. They're like, Barack Obama is the coolest man to ever walk the earth. And here you have, Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington essentially. Yeah, it's like you're overwhelmed by his presence. The guy's unbelievable, all that stuff. And, here he is. I just saw him sort of, put the charm on Trump, and Trump's like laughing and giddy, and they're just joking back and forth. And so, in many ways, Obama sort of takes one and prevents everybody else from having a miserable time, from having to talk to Trump.
I bet Trump was trying to tell him that his inauguration crowds were bigger.
Exactly. Well, there's a famous story from Trump's first inauguration. And one of the things that I loved, and I was hoping I was going to see, is that, the way they sit people, it's first lady, first president, et cetera, et cetera. And so over the course of years, George Bush has been seated next to um, Mrs.
Clinton.
Obama.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Bush and Obama and Michelle Obama
Michelle Obama, right. Have
have
become
such
great
a
friends.
great relationship, and like you're like
Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting
almost
about
like
that,
think that she would date him if she they were
well,
both single.
what's fascinating about those is that's everything that's good about the old school politics that is gone now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
see, I mean, again, Obama said this during at the end of the 2016 Trump's inauguration speech. Obama said, he said, Michelle and I will be praying for your success because your success will mean the success of America.
yeah.
I don't know that you would say that now,
Hmm.
but I appreciate the sentiment so
I
well.
don't. Yeah, I don't think Trump was praying for the success of Joe Biden.
No, definitely not. And so then in 2016, Trump gets up and makes, his inauguration speech, which, is America first, America first, and a bunch of other things about it. At the end, he goes and sits down, and Bush Jr. turns to Michelle Obama and goes, "That was one kooky speech." And she just starts cracking up.
And I
And
think
so
that was kind of like an open mic moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
it was. And it pretty, I don't know. It's a little side stories. All right. I
Question number
think
three.
I think
Yeah,
everybody
well,
got this
Ken's already
question
got
before
it.
I even looked at it.
Ken got it. Janice got it. TikTok facing a looming ban in the United States that could potentially take effect on which day? January 19th, March 9th, May 26th, or July 4th. And
Right.
got the 19th. Supreme Court will decide whether to uphold a law that would ban TikTok in the United States starting on January 19th, unless it is sold by its China-based parent company, which they said they will not do.
Yeah. Ken, you're right. I did say Melania wasn't there, but I meant to say Michelle wasn't there.
Yeah, Melania was there. She looked well. She always has kind of
She looks
resting,
like herself. She looks
resting vacant face.
resting supermodel face.
Yeah. Question number 4. President-elect Donald Trump floated the idea of renaming which body of water? Mississippi River, Gulf of Mexico, Lake Michigan, or Lake Mead? We've been joking about this a while. So
I thought it was Lake Erie.
It's Gulf of Mexico, but he's
Gulf of
also
America. I mean, if they do rename it, you can't say America. You got to say America.
right. I did. Speaking of Merca, I had a Facebook post earlier this week talking about how Reddit Air used to use dynamite to extinguish oil well fires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's this whole thing of using explosives. I said, I wonder if at some point in time people will be talking about, using explosives to fight forest fires. And somebody said, that's the most American idea ever of bombing the fire.
Yeah. I mean, that I'm surprised it hasn't been tried before.
I am too.
I'm sure that the defense contractors would be like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's just
Well,
bomb the shit out of the fires.
There actually is some precedent for it, mainly ahead of a fire to try to establish a fire line.
Yeah.
Just
Fire breaks. Yeah.
exactly. I have no idea on this one.
In a very tender area, the explosion will probably just kick up a bigger fire anyway. But a small town in Italy issued a proclamation that bans residents from doing what? Driving a car, watching TV, drinking wine, or getting sick.
It's not going to be drinking wine.
Yeah, I've got to say driving a car is probably.
I think it's going to be getting sick because that's the stupidest.
I mean, it's a ban, so bans aren't well thought out.
Right.
I mean,
know. Anybody in the audience have an idea on this?
I mean, I know that certain towns are getting into the idea of dedicating some of the downtown space into walkable cities. I don't know that that idea is spread to Italy, but
but you wouldn't say that you ban residents from doing it. You can only ban residents from doing things that they do, right? I don't know.
So Janice says getting sick.
I say getting sick. Ken says driving a car.
Oh, Art Bell, and I'm of course he's dead now, but Art Bell, that Coast to Coast AM show was always
Interesting.
interesting.
Yep. Phil also says getting sick.
James says getting sick. How do you stop residents from getting sick?
That's the point, is that it's so stupid.
All right, we'll try this one.
Boom, shaka laka laka.
Wow.
All right,
That is
1,300 people in
stupid.
Belcastro, Calabria, which is where my family's from, have been
Nice.
ordered to avoid falling ill due to the town's inadequate access to health care.
So what happens if you get sick? Do they shoot you or what?
Maybe.
Seems a
Saves on
little
healthcare
harsh.
costs. Bullets cheaper than healthcare. All right, question number 6. Which automaker is facing a new investigation into its self-driving features?
An
BMW.
investigation that ends in 8 days.
Yeah. BMW, Hyundai, Tesla, or Toyota?
This one, I think we all know. It's
Yeah, this one's easy, especially since it's going to end in 8 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tesla is under investigation for a self-driving feature that allows owners to summon a car from a parking space without anyone being in the vehicle. The probe comes after the NHTSA said it was aware of multiple crash allegations involving the parking feature, which is strange because there's been self-parking vehicles like the ones that will do the parallel parking without you touching it, but not being in the vehicle, I think, is the change
No,
here.
but this is much more complicated than this. This essentially, you drive to the mall and you get out at the front of the mall and you tell the car to go park itself.
Oh,
It goes
geez.
parks itself in the back of the parking lot, and then you press the summon button and it comes back to where you were and picks you up.
Okay.
So when it works, it's a really amazing feature.
It works.
Cool. Be so
60%
cool.
of the time it works every time.
It'd be so cool if right at the edge of the parking lot there was like a cliff, and all the cars were full. They're just drive it off. That'd be so amazing.
I had a friend who lived in Maine, and he loved it at his house because the car would park itself in the garage, and then he would essentially walk out the front door in the winter or whenever, and the car would pull up to the front door, and he would just get in. And he's like, "Yeah, that was awesome," especially, you know, in the winter in Maine when it's cold. You want the car in the garage, nice and warm. So it is what it says, but it's not working well.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just walk to your car.
Yeah.
And I'll go further. Drive the darn thing. The experience is what's fun. For heaven's sake.
I did see a meme this week that said that there was a little video, may have been a TikTok reel, may have been another reel, but called the Cybertruck the Incel Camino, and I'm not being able, because it does look like an El Camino, like it's like it's not like a truck size to me.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. What is the difference between a porcupine and a Camaro?
I don't know.
The pricks are on the inside.
A porcupine has pricks on the outside.
That's cool.
All right, question number 7. Roughly how much aid has the Biden administration given to Ukraine since the war with Russia began in 2022? 15 billion, 25 billion, 45 billion, or 65 billion?
It's an interesting question because are we just talking about American aid? Because I think it's 25 and it's just American aid, but I think the rest of the world has chipped in more, but I don't know.
As much as people complained about how much America gave to Ukraine, that's less than what Elon Musk has.
Oh, it's significantly less. One of the things that really bothers me is there's this other meme going around that you've probably seen saying, Elon Musk is on a path to be the world's first trillionaire. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I mean, he's got 100 and some odd billion.
No. He's almost at 300 billion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he is on a glide path because, I mean, like a couple years ago, he was like 100 and something. He was kind of going back and forth with Carlos Slim,
Yeah.
Being the world's richest man. And yeah, And it's only going to get worse because you know that he's going to funnel stuff to
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah. So his current net worth is $416 billion.
I like what you're thinking there.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Right. And he's 53 years old. So in that space, I think that there's this meme going around and saying, he's about to be the first trillionaire. He could, with $20 billion, eradicate homelessness. With $40 billion, end hunger. And it's just so completely disingenuous because if homelessness could be ended with $20 billion, the government would have done it, as inept as they are. But they probably spend more than that anyway. And so it's just, people don't realize that in the
I mean,
scope
it's the same as when they say, Elon Musk can give everyone $1 million based off of his wealth. And no, let's learn some simple division here.
Absolutely.
But
you have 130 million people in the country. That not everyone's going to get $1 million here.
Right, but he could give every American
A Cybertruck.
$1,000.
So we're going to go 25.
Yeah, I think 25.
I'm thinking 65 personally.
Oh yeah,
It was
65
65. Damn it, Joe.
billion. Sorry. Biden administration is giving more than 65 billion in aid. Still not. I mean, less than a quarter of what Elon Musk has. Since the war began in February 2022, this week Biden officials announced a final military aid package for Ukraine before leaving office, which will probably be the last time they get aid for a while.
Yep.
Question number 8. Which company announced sweeping changes and how it moderates online content? We talked about this earlier. Nettie's Meta.
Yeah.
Who's the new guy with hair?
That's Mark Zuckerberg. He's
Yeah,
been I don't know if he's on the beef tallow or collagen or whatever. He still looks weird to me.
The hair helps though.
He's trying to look less reptilian.
Yes.
Question number 9. NASA recently announced a plan to retrieve crucial samples from which planet? Venus, Mars, Jupiter, or Neptune? I have not heard about this one.
I'm going to say, let me think. I thought it was one of the moons, not one of the main planets. So this one's throwing me.
Well, we have not. I don't think we've gotten samples from Mars because we've flown.
We haven't brought any
I don't
back.
think we've turned anything back.
And
I think Mars makes the most sense. Venus is just too the surface of Venus is too unstable, too hard.
If you believe the Russians, they did indeed land a probe there.
They did. They
did.
did.
They did.
They actually do have video and audio of
Venera 8
of Venus, which is getting something to survive that long is not feasible.
Yeah.
Jupiter, you can't land on Jupiter, so you're not retrieving. And same with Neptune. So I'm going to say Mars is the answer to this one. And James has Mars as well. Yes, correct. Recently, NASA recently proposed a $7.7 billion plan to return crucial samples from Mars to Earth. Scientists believe that samples might be one of the only ways to determine whether life has ever existed on the red planet. Right on.
Yeah.
Question number 10. Which Hollywood veteran recently won her first acting award at the 82nd Golden Globe Awards? Amy Adams.
Oh, I know this.
Cynthia Erivo, Demi Moore, or Zendaya?
I mean, could you
Demi
really
Moore?
call Zendaya a Hollywood veteran?
She's not a Hollywood veteran. I mean, she's been in a few films over the last few years. I wouldn't call her a veteran at all.
Yeah. Phil's got it.
I don't see red hair, so it's not Amy Adams.
No, Phil got it right.
Phil got it right.
And I mean, it was amazing. Her speech was really good. I
Good,
happened to
good.
catch that through the thing. And incidentally, if people haven't watched Nikki Glazer's monologue at the Golden Globe, fantastic. A lot of really good jokes in it. She mentions you, Dave. She comes out in the very beginning and she says, I want to welcome you all to the Golden Globes, or as we now call it, Ozempic's finest night.
Yeah,
Which it was really good. Demi Moore's speech was amazing. It is astonishing that
she's
she's never
62
won.
years old.
62. She looks unbelievable.
She
I mean,
does.
she looks like the same Demi Moore that haunted my teenage years when she was in St. Elmo's Fire.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
just
smoke show.
yeah, it's just astonishing. And supposedly that movie is excellent. The Substance.
Huh, I'll have to
So
check
it's
it
on
out.
my list.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got through the quiz, 9 out of 10 this week. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Yep,
Yeah.
good stuff.
So, one more week of the Biden administration. We'll be back here on. Actually, no, there will be no show because it is my wife's birthday on Sunday.
Oh,
So,
very
no
smart.
show next. No show next week. We'll be back in the Trump administration. So, buckle up. It's going to get interesting, kids. And
I mean, I almost think it's going to be anticlimactic at this point in time. I mean, if he doesn't come out and like goose step during the inauguration, I don't.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
That would be
I
weird,
think
wouldn't
we
it?
have gotten we did I think we did get to a point towards the end of the Trump administration where you get that crazy fatigue.
Yeah,
And this part of the reason why he won this election is that some people have very short political memories and they don't remember how just absolutely fucking stressful
yeah, yeah,
the those 4 years were. And yeah, so
yeah.
we'll see what happens on January 20th as we get to the oh yeah,
Yeah,
what see if he
Ohio
predicted.
State. I don't think Notre Dame is particularly good. I think that side of the tree was very weak.
I mean, they had Georgia, but Georgia was without Carson Beck, who has now since gone to Miami, which was not a shocker.
Yeah,
And then who they beat in the who did Notre Dame?
Penn
Penn
State.
Right.
State.
Yeah,
Penn State. I was disappointed in their performance, and then the critical interception towards the end of the game. Um, really cost them the chance at moving
yeah.
on. I think
I
a
thought
better game
Ohio.
if it was Ohio State versus Penn State, a Big Ten battle, but
Yeah, I thought
yeah,
Ohio State, Texas, and I mean, I even though they lost, I was pretty proud of the way Texas played. I felt like play calling really let them down. Fucking first and goal from the 1 yard line with 3 minutes left, and you need a touchdown to tie, and you can't run the ball in, and you're Texas.
who
Uh,
have run the ball all over everybody.
exactly. You just run it up the middle 3 times in a row,
I
and
mean,
then
that
if you don't
was
get it, then throw it on the fourth down.
yeah, I mean, there was this curious decision as when the Patriots beat the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. They're on the 1 yard line. You have Marshawn Lynch,
Exactly.
and you decide to pass it. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it was
Um,
baffling.
yeah,
So, I mean, I do think the interesting thing about it is that I do think Texas will be back again next year.
I think so too.
That team is good, and with Arch Manning, playing a full year, that's going to make a big difference.
Good night, Brandy.
Good night, Brandy.
Yeah,
So I like,
I like Ohio State as well.
I like Ohio State by 10.
It's the first time Notre Dame has been in the big game since Manti Te'o was getting catfished.
I'm going to be the oddball. I'm predicting Notre Dame.
Interesting.
All right. Okay.
Oh, that's a good roundabout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good night, Gracie.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Gracie, and have
Good
a good
night,
one,
all.
everyone. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Have a great week.
Bye.
See you.